Oh, it's a pretty morning here in August on the island. Looks like the cats are enjoying it. Yeah, Willow and Pepper taking it easy. I think I'm going to go over to Fiddler Dave's and check out his fig muffin making process. I haven't actually seen that in action. I've tasted them though. They're great. Let's go over there. Well, we're going to head down Howard Street, Fiddler Dave's house. I like to ride my bike most places on Ocracoke, and especially in the summertime when the traffic gets busier out on the main road. Howard Street's one of the oldest streets on Ocracoke. Still a sandy lane. There's the Methodist Preacher's Parsonage here on the left. A lot of graveyards along Howard Street. And here we're coming to Dave's house. He told me he'd be cooking some muffins this morning, so we'll go take a look. Hi there. I think that's Fiddler Dave's cat. Are you Fiddler Dave's cat? Don't know if Amy and Lachlan are here or not. Dave?
Hi there. Are you starting right now? Maybe you should come back in.
Yeah. The element of surprise is always important.
Hey, are you videoing?
Yeah.
I haven't like perfumed myself or like.
No, you smell pretty good.
I do. Okay. Okay.
So.
Please delete the part with me in it.
What? I like it. I like it.
I urge you to flash.
We can. Yeah. Alrighty.
Well, yeah, Dave, just tell me a little bit about this muffin thing.
Okay, well, it is the fig muffin recipe. Well, it's I've altered the Ocracoke fig cake recipe to be more suitable towards muffins. So, same ingredients, just tweak things a little bit one direction and another. So
Why figs?
Well, figs are the magical fruit of Ocracoke Island. I don't mean like, yeah, like the rhyme magical fruit. Yeah, no, nothing like that. But actually, if we look out the window here, come on over. You actually see you have a fig tree right out the back by the garden.
Oh, okay.
If you sort of aim right that direction, you can see a fig tree out there. There are, I guess, around 7 different types of fig trees on Ocracoke Island, maybe more than that, but they are a strange looking fruit.
You have any figs here?
I don't, but we can go out and...
We're going to go...
Yeah.
Oh, you've got some canned for your...
Yeah.
For your...
So I've got...
cake.
Yeah, I've got some canned. You take these figs that you gather in great abundance and then you cook them down just like you might any other fruit. You add sugar and lemon and you cook them for a long time on the stove until they reduce down to more of a syrupy, fruity conglomeration. Yeah.
Can we go out and see the fig?
Sure.
The fig bush.
Yeah.
Is it a bush or a tree?
It's a tree. And we are still suffering from the aftershocks of Ocracoke Festival. So
that aftershock takes about half the year, I guess.
Yeah, it does. It does. So right out here, come on out here by the chickens.
can hear them.
I don't know which type of fig tree this is, but you can see they're still pretty hard and green right now. Let's see if there's any out here, because on occasion some of them have been getting ripe. Actually, here's one right over here. So this is more a fig that's ripe. Some of the fig trees like this one will have 2 rounds of figs. And so this is an example of the first round of figs that are generally not very prolific, and sometimes they just kind of fall off before they're really ready, but it's still good enough to eat. And so you can see it's kind of plump, it's gotten soft. Comparing to the sizes here, these ones here will get to be that size.
Oh, yeah.
And there are different, you can see that's kind of where the flower is. The wasp goes in and...
The wasp goes in?
Yeah. So each fig tree has a specific wasp that pollinates it.
Oh.
And they've got a unique relationship. You can read a lot about it online,
okay.
But it's pretty interesting. So if we take a bite into this, like that, you can see it's got a very fleshy, weird-looking, exotic interior. Those are the seeds. And I'll take a cross section of this. We'll cut it when we get into the kitchen so you can see it more.
All right.
But it's very juicy.
I got to see your chickens right quick here.
Yep.
Now, these are your latest addition to the farm,
Yep.
right?
Yep. So the black and white are barred rocks, and the tan ones are buff Orpingtons. And they produce the eggs that we'll be using in the fig muffins today.
Okay.
So.
Cool. They look happy.
Yeah, I think they are pretty happy. And then summertime garden on Ocracoke Island, if you want it to be a fresh vegetable or green, then you kind of have to figure out how to produce it yourself. Can be kind of tricky. So.
All right.
So you want to go back in this way?
So how many acres is your farm here?
It's probably about a 64th of an acre.
It's one of the larger farms on the island, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so there's your cut-up fig.
Yep, and so you can see in this cross section here, the seeds are kind of in the middle here, and it looks really weird and foreign, like an alien came down and landed on your. But
it's not.
It is, but it's really really tasty though. It's juicy and sort of like a juicy, if you think of a juicy peach.
Does it seem to help beard growth?
It has, as you can see. Plus, as you're eating, you can
difference.
philosophize about. So, the fig recipe or the fig muffin recipe rather, is pretty simple. Just start with the dry ingredients first, getting 3 cups of flour. And in fig cake recipes, they'll often tell you to sift it. I don't bother with the muffins so much. If you were doing a cake and you needed it all to rise really well, you might want to do that. And then I throw in, let's go ahead and get the baking soda in there. I put 2 teaspoons of baking soda, a little bit under a teaspoon of salt.
Do you use any special kind of salt?
No, just regular
salty salt.
All iodinized salt. Okay, here's the cinnamon, full teaspoon of cinnamon. And about a half teaspoon of nutmeg. And these are, I think, the basic ingredients for about any spice cake. and then half a teaspoon of clove. So those are all pretty simple. And then I'll just get a whisk. And just whisk it all together real quick. And then
until it looks whisked.
Until it looks whisked and well combined. And then we can bring that over to our next station. But before we do, let me show you real quick. So I've been using these square muffin pans. You can use round, doesn't really matter. But I was producing a lot of them, and so I was looking for a way to not have to clean these pans quite so much. And so through Restaurant Supply, I got a big sheet of parchment paper and cut them into these littler squares. And then figured out something that was about the right size for cramming this paper down into these little chambers like that, and then go around and pull up the edges, and there you are. And so we've got a tin over here full of those ready to go.
Okay.
We got our flour. I'll bring that over here. Also over here we have a little over 2 cups of sugar, maybe 2 cups and a quarter. We have a cup and a half of oil. These are not necessarily really healthy. There's a lot of fat and a lot of sugar, but spiritually they will make you feel so good that you won't care.
And they have fruit in them.
Yeah, they do have fruit in them.
Grown in your yard.
About 3/4 cup of buttermilk or milk. You can make your own buttermilk just by 3/4 cup of milk with a little bit of vinegar thrown in there. Maybe about a teaspoon of vinegar. This is vanilla, of course. You can make your own if you ever want to by using vodka and vanilla beans. You can make quite a large quantity, maybe about 8 vanilla beans sliced. Vanilla beans are expensive because I believe they come from orchids, and their harvesting window of harvesting is very, very specific. So you can kind of see them down in there. But you basically throw a bunch in there, and then you fill it up with vodka, and that's what vanilla's made out of. Let it soak for a while. Eggs from our chickens out there. And then, of course, the important ingredient, fig preserves. We've got some lemon in here, some cut lemon rinds. I usually take those out, and I usually mash up the figs pretty well. They'll be mixed in as well when we put this together, but I mash them up pretty well. We'll take about a cup of figs per one 12 muffin batch fig preserves here.
Okay.
So, let's go ahead and get ready. We're going to start by cracking our eggs, putting them down in here.
Looks like a lot of shells washed up in your kitchen here.
Yep, yep. Every time that we have an earthquake here on the island, all the shells fall off the shelf.
Really?
So, yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Fortunately, we haven't had an earthquake here yet, so.
But every time.
Happens, it does happen.
Yeah.
So right here, we're going to mix. Of course, we're going to start with the sugar and the eggs. One thing about combining sugar and eggs is that you want to keep the mixer going once you've put the sugar in, because if you let it sit, the eggs and the sugar will have a chemical reaction and create little hard knots of eggs. And so you want to make sure that once you've started the process that you're committed and you've got the time. So first I just you can add it gradually, but when I'm in production mode, I just throw everything in and get it going. Add the fat, which is the oil, right here, and you'll see it transform, because when we first add the oil, it'll be very liquidy, but then we'll keep beating it until at a point it'll reach a thickness again, which is kind of magical. You just have to keep at it until that happens. So, there we go. See how liquidy it is? Now take a look at it. Turned a little bit more towards a batter, thicker. Didn't take too long. Okay, now we're going to add the flour and the buttermilk or substitute. In most recipes they'll have you, like a cake recipe where you're trying to create a really light recipe, a batter, they'll have you incorporate a little bit of flour, a little bit of milk, a little bit back and forth and back and forth. But when I'm producing a lot of these in the kitchen, I don't bother with that so much. It doesn't seem to have affected things too much, so I just dump the whole thing in there. And I get ready also to add this in, because you'll hear almost immediately the beater will start to complain about. Also, if you've just dumped a big pile of flour into your batter, don't turn this on full tilt unless you want to be covered in the dust.
But if you do want to be covered,
if you do, then you'll know what to
then
do.
go ahead and turn it on. Yeah.
And just add that in.
I see what you're saying.
And you'll see there's a lot of flour stuck on the sides here. We're going to come around with our spatula and incorporate that back in. Okay. So, we're going to add our last two ingredients. Basically what we've got is kind of a spice cake now. Batter. It's about a teaspoon of vanilla.
Is that your homemade vanilla?
Yeah. And then I'm going to go ahead and, again, when some folks can figs, there are a lot of different styles. These particular figs were a very large watery fig, so you get something that is a little bit more like a peach jam already here, but sometimes you get some fig preserves that have big preserved figs floating within the juice. And for this purpose, because I like to make sure there's fig in every muffin, I make sure it's kind of mushed up. And I'm just going to throw that in, and I'm kind of keeping an eye out if there are any lemon rinds in there that I need to watch out for, which they can be good, but they can also surprise folks. Okay. And then I'm just going to mix it all up. And now we get to put it inside these muffin tins. I've gotten one of these little scoopers here, which makes it easier. About 2 of these will make 1 muffin. I'm not sure the exact amount in there. You can. It gets a little bit trickier when you've got these papers in here to accurately dispense. So you kind of want to make sure that you keep your batter on the inside of the parchment and not on the outside of the parchment, which will happen when you're first learning. And again, I pureed these the figs pretty well into the batter. Some people would like to have bigger chunks in their fig muffins, but I don't. So you can do whatever style you like. Also, I've had the oven preheating at 350 for a while, maybe about 20 or 30 minutes. You want to make sure that your oven has achieved its heat and in a well-rounded fashion. I think otherwise, sometimes the first batch, if the oven isn't quite up to the heat, it comes out doesn't rise as well. So the muffins kind of fall in the middle.
Hey, Dad? Guess what I found out? Dad?
We're still filming, bud.
What'd you find out, Lachlan?
I found out that just because one card is misplaced, I have to move every card forward one. But beyond that card.
Pokemon cards?
Mm-hmm.
You could cut one in half.
Oh, ha, ha.
I think
He didn't. I have a lot of good
really think
ideas,
that was
but he
funny.
didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't. Always take
No, I
mine.
accepted your idea with the ghost one. That was a good idea.
One final thing that we're going to do is add some coarse sugar, demerara sugar or turbinado sugar. We're going to sprinkle a little bit of that on top of these, and that creates a nice little crust on the top. You do want to put it right into the oven after you do this, because otherwise the sugar will sink to the bottom if you let it sit. Some of these will probably overflow a little bit because I filled them a little high, but we'll see what happens. It's always exciting. So I've got the rack in the oven kind of in the middle of the oven. And baking time for a fig cake, you bake longer. It's probably like, I don't know, closer to an hour side of 45 minutes. You basically, for a fig cake, you would bake it until a knife comes out clean. But for our purpose, this is probably about 35 to 40 minutes. I just sort of do it till it looks right. Put it right there in the center. And there you go. And we'll check back in later. See how they turned out. So this is the Ocracoke Festival t-shirt from 2011. It celebrated the fig culture here on the island. On the front you've got a picture of the fig. And on the back you have the traditional fig cake recipe. And the one that I just did with you, the muffin, has been altered from this to a little bit, and I can give you the recipe for that as well. But this is pretty much a traditional fig cake recipe here on the back. And this t-shirt is available, or a version of it, a new release of it is available through Ocracoke Alive, which is the nonprofit community organization that runs the Ocracoke Festival and Deepwater Theater and the Skipjack Wilma-Lee. So you can find this t-shirt online in a variety of colors at ocracokealive.org. So.
All right, are they ready?
It's starting to smell like something, so let's go take a look here.
All right.
Go ahead. And here we go. They're golden brown on the outside. I usually let them cool a little bit in the pan because I think they're still cooking a little bit, even though you've pulled them out of the oven. But when you're ready, these should just lift out like so and be ready to go. So
how long till I can eat one?
we should probably wait at least 10 minutes. Well, maybe 20.
10 minutes.
Wait, how long can you stay? Maybe 30 minutes.
They call you Fiddler Dave.
They're starting to call me Fiddler Dave.
Fiddler Dave.
Fiddler Dave.
Yeah.
Alright, let's see. I should write a fig tune, actually. That would be more appropriate, but... This is probably, in normal circumstances, should sit a little bit longer before we break into it, but we don't want to wait that long.
I'm hungry, Dad.
So, we're gonna just open her up like a Christmas present. You can see it's gonna tear apart a little bit, simply because it's still hot. But, that's alright. Woo. No point in waiting.
Can't imagine why you would.
Nice and moist.
Oh my
Toasty.
gosh. Oh, that feels good.
Nice sugary crust on the top.
Fit to eat, as they say.
It is. We just don't tell the kids about it in the other room.
Oh my gosh. I gotta have another piece of that.
Real secret is to cutting it on a fiddle cutting board.
Right.
Makes it extra good.
Right tone.
Alrighty. Good luck baking.
Alright. I need to look at the recipe here.